Hello, everybody. I hope it's delightful weather in Texas. I'm in Seattle on the rooftop, enjoying the therapeutic sounds of nail guns and hammers and the sunny sun and the skyline. I will try to keep this short, definitely less than 10 minutes, but I wanted to follow up with some of the things that I've learned, some of the things I've been thinking about over the last couple days, and some of the things that I was trying to communicate with David. One of the things, just off the bat, the mediation that's supposed to happen, I think on the 27th or whenever, is supposed to be twofold. Originally, it was 2 different days. It was going to be mediation about the estate and David's role as the executor, and then mediation about Murphy and what the estate's role in that would be, and the way forward, and every decision that needs to be made coming up because of the certain conditions that are out there. So they got moved into one day, but they were both half days. So still 2 half days, but now on the same day, if that makes sense. So in talking with Bear, he also sent out an email saying, hey, just want to clarify what this mediation is about. And talking with David, I found out that the mediation, I think Bear was just primarily focused on mediating about Murphy. Well, that's the second half. And the reason that Mom and Josh were brought into it were to talk about the mediation regarding the estate. Just to throw that out there, I think that everybody can show up for the mediation about the estate. However, David feels like that's just between him and Mom. And then Bear doesn't want everybody to show up for the mediation about Murphy, which I agree. I think just him and David talking it out is helpful. And so just getting that out there so that there's mutual understanding about this mediation that's coming up. One of the things I told David is that it'd be nice if Christian families can just work it all out and not need mediation. But there has been some mistakes, some trust breakdowns, some level 2 talking and assumptions that haven't been verified. And so some wounds have been caused. I've been wounded. I think we all talked about that on Wednesday. I thought it was really good. I think there are still some lingering effects of previous wounds, and so mediation is still required. So with that said, I'll jump into, and I'm going to attach this video to the email that I send. Hopefully read the email, then watch the video, and that'll be pretty good. But where David and I kind of went off track was both with trying to get clarification from him whether Josh had the conversation about Mom that we talked about and what she said to him, the misunderstanding there, if he had that with David in the library there. He said he thought he did. Bear was still feeling the effects of that, a couple days later. He has talked to Mom and Hannah about it. I think he feels better about it, but I just wanted to put it all to bed, close the loop. David says that it was just the reason he said my dad was because he was sending an email to Jim, and then he resent that email that was originally titled to Jim to Bear and didn't change it. And so that's why it was said that way. However, it still felt like there was something there. And I tried to get clarification from David whether or not that conversation was had. He did not want to tell me if he had that conversation. He felt like it was gossip. Once again, we disagree about what gossip is, but in deference to him and what I explained to him was it made me go into level 2 and have an assumption that the reason he didn't want to tell me is because the answer was yes, but I didn't want to have that assumption. So I just let him know that by saying he didn't want to tell me, it would have been easier if he just said, yeah, we had the conversation, and then we moved on, and then we could go to the next step. But what he recommended was just that Bear reach out to him and talk to him about it, or that he and Josh, they get on a 3-way conversation and have a talk about it, that I don't necessarily be on it. But I explained to him that the communication paths are still somewhat broken, and before a conversation can be had, the pathway has to be restored. And so I was trying to assist in restoring the comm pathway. Kind of confusing. I apologize for all that, but that was kind of where we went off. And then I mentioned how I thought that Jim Dawsey should be kind of professionally embarrassed. That's in the email that I sent him as well, and that he should kind of apologize for doing that, taking that action of filing a will without all the pages. And David was like, I'm not going to ask him to apologize. And I said, well, I didn't tell you to ask him to apologize. I'm just saying that it helps to put that behind us if he came out and accepted responsibility for that. So that was, a grievance. It hasn't really, he feels like it's been resolved. I feel like I've spoken my piece about it, so I don't need to say anything about it else, and I can move on. But it's hard to trust Jim Dawsey to give good advice because of those things. And it also went sideways when I talked about how I didn't know that the email that I sent Jim, which David said to send if you got any questions, would end up costing money to the estate, which is supposed to take care of Mom, and I don't know how much money it cost. So if it was like $20, then just tell me, he charged $20 for that email, and I was like, okay, well, next time I'll pay the $20. That I use the analogy of somebody saying you can get a burger at McDonald's. Well, you go in, you see what the price is for the different burgers that you want, and then you pay, so there's full disclosure. But when I ask Jim, okay, well, how much has this all cost the estate so far? He says, well, you can ask David because he has a litany or a laydown of the costs. And then I asked David, and he was like, well, I don't want to tell anybody. But then David says, I want there to be full understanding of what's going on, what's required. And then he doesn't say, well, but I'm not going to tell you how much this is costing in lawyer fees. And so I'm like, well, there can't be full understanding if there's not full disclosure. And so you'll see that in the text message that I sent him. So it's fine if he doesn't want to tell us how much it's costing, but to also say, I want everybody to understand what's going on, to me is disingenuous, kind of, because it's if you're not willing to fully disclose, then you really don't want everybody to fully understand. So I'm just having a hard time with that. And he went into, it's not my role as a brother to be in this. It's his role. He's supposed to do it, just like the mediation's going to be between him and Mom, because he's the executor and she's the sole beneficiary, and the mediation with Bear is going to be just them two about the company. So that is what his view is, and that is my understanding of it now. But being a listed as a name in the will, I do feel like it is my role to know kind of what's going on, at least. And it's the executor's role. It's all clearly laid out that weekly or bi-weekly or monthly updates, meetings are part of what he's supposed to do. So that's what I was asking him to do, and he has not been very receptive to me, so I'm going to take a break from it all. He said those emails that I sent, that I'll put at the bottom of this video, were kind of perceived as lectures, which I'm trying not to lecture, and I'll do my best to not lecture anymore in how I come across, because I don't want to be lecturing. I want to be loving and helpful and lay it all out. But in the email, you'll see the false assumptions that I perceive and then the truth that I believe. So I wanted to get on the same page with all of that, and I think that's it. So I'll upload this, add it to the email, and send it to you all. I love you, and if you got any questions about this or anything else, please let me know. The other things that are needing to be discussed, I think, are the taking care of the ranch for Mom. I think that having all that laid out, put on paper, is helpful, and the different roles and responsibilities and costs, I think, is good. And then with respect to Murphy and the way forward and who's going to lead it, coming up with like the 6-month plan and how much it's going to cost for counting the cost for individually Hannah and Bear, if they're going to be fully invested in it, fully working to do it, what the toll is going to be on their family, making sure that everybody understands that and discussing it. I think that that's very helpful for everybody to understand. And one last thing is, that I do want to encourage everybody to say things that are positive. We sat through a phenomenal message yesterday at Church Home. Judah Smith is a great pastor, and one of the things he said is they've done research, and negativity is 7 times more effective a lot of times in the world in doing things, like in a bad way, like getting things done. But positivity is only used like 1 out of 7, I guess. And so that made us realize, we really need to be more positive. So with respect to what Hannah expressed, concerns about what Mom was expressing about the future of Murphy being uncertain, I think one of the things that Mom said, or at least Hannah interpreted it this way, was, Murphy may fail or something like that. Murphy could fail. So that, to me, is communicating something in a negative way. And what I told Hannah is, the neutral way is that the future is uncertain. But if we wanted to communicate it in a positive way, we believe that God is going to continue to help Murphy be profitable. And even if he doesn't, we're going to continue to trust him for his provision and providing a way and giving us guidance in what we should do. So just throwing that out there, no condemnation on anybody who uses negative talk. I mean, it comes naturally. It's 7 times more likely to come out of our mouths. They've done research on it. But before we speak, thinking through it, praying about it, and trying to make it positive. Well, it was over 10 minutes, 11 minutes, but I'll hit pause here. Love you guys.